Hello again. So since I got this big Agnes tent, I've noticed a couple things that I wanted to change on it, make a couple modifications. A couple of them that I mentioned in the previous video showing you my first look at the tent. So I went ahead and made a couple simple modifications regarding the pre-cut guy outs on this tent. So I'm gonna get the tent set up and show you a little bit about the very simple, but I feel will be very effective changes that I've made to the guy out system on this tent. Now, first thing you might have noticed when I was setting up the tent was the adjustable guy outs on the toe end of the tent. The original ones were pre-cut, and on uneven ground I feel like it could have been a stretch to get that thing real tight and taut on both sides. Sometimes you might get tight on one side, but then you're loose on the other, or you may not even be able to stretch it all the way out. If you like to stake out your ground sheet entirely like I've done here, it makes it a lot easier to be able to reach those stakes and then pull the tension that you need on either side of the tent. Now, this modification doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the speed in which the tent goes up. It seems to have gone up just as fast as it would have if I had left the pre-cut guy lines on the tent. But this way it allows me to adjust for uneven ground and situations that might not be perfect while on the trail. The next modification I've made is to the rain fly. It has to do with the pre-cut guy outs or guy lines as well. The head end has clips that clip into place, and they are adjustable, but the foot end had pre-cut guy lines to stretch and tighten the toe end of the rainfly. And I have had, even just in practice, trouble setting up the rainfly and the rainfly not reaching, the pre-cut guy line not reaching the stake. And now that has a lot to do with why or how I set up my ground sheet, but I do want to be able to set my ground sheet up before I set the tent up and stake it out entirely, especially on a windy day. So I have chosen to add these tensioners on the ends of the rainfly so that I can set up the tent the way that I would like to set it up. So I'm going to throw the rainfly on here and give you a closer look at what I'm talking about. Along with the tensioners that I've added to the foot end of the rainfly, I've also purchased the vestibule door clips from Z-Packs that they use on their Plex tents. And with using the combination of these hooks on the adjustable hooks on the vestibule doors and the adjusters on the toe end of the rainfly, I'm able to go around and tweak the tension of my rainfly in 4 different places to make sure that the rainfly itself stays taut and the vestibule doors themselves stay taut. The original reason why I chose to go with the Z-Packs vestibule door hooks is when you're using the pre-cut guy out lines on the vestibule doors of the big Agnes, you have to be very careful about which direction or which one you put on your stake first. What I mean by that is the door opens specifically more to one side. So if you're going to want to be able to open your vestibule door on the same side as your inner tent door, you're going to have to make sure you've got the right line on the top of that stake. Now this isn't necessarily a problem, but it's just kind of one of those ease of use situations. If I'm going to be using this thing day in and day out, I really like to be as fluid as I can be with it. This is a very nitpicky thing, but backpacking is also very personal. So I want my gear to be personally set up for the way that I want to use it. So with these clips, it doesn't matter which one you put on first, because one stays on one side of the clip and one stays on the other side of the clip, and you can take whichever one off whenever you want to take it off. With these two hooks, and the adjuster, you can loosen the adjustment so there's a little more slack. You can pull whichever door you would like off of that hook, unzip it, and then you can retighten the vestibule door that you want to leave open. You don't have to worry about pulling that tiny little string from the inside and trying to pull it out over off of your stake. You can just loosen it up and pull it off the hook very easily. This is the first time that I've set up this tent with these modifications. I actually ended up having to set the tent up inside my shop yesterday in order to make the modifications, because the wind and rain are just insane out here right now, and they were not cooperating with me doing these modifications. And I needed to set up the tent in order to make the guy outs for at least the main body of the tent, because it has a triangular shape line on the end of it, and if I didn't get the right distance on the bottom line to match the right distance of the top line, it would have been all wonky and it wouldn't have actually pulled the floor out the proper way. So I ended up having to go into my shop and do the modifications there. So this is the first time I'm actually seeing it out here, and I am really enjoying how easy it was and how intuitive it was to set up. And on this pretty windy day, the tent is staying quite still. I don't know if you can see the trees blowing behind the tent, but they're going nuts, and the tent is staying quite nice. Staying quite nicely taut, so I'm very happy with that. All I really had to do was remove the original pre-cut guys and attach my own. As far as the hardware that I got, I purchased a very bright, I think it's the 3mm cord, Z-cord, or Zline maybe, from Z-Pack's website. It's the very bright yellow one. It was $14.99 for a 50-foot length, I believe, which was way more than enough. It doesn't even look like I cut any off of it. The tensioners that I have are lineloc 3s. There are a couple places you can get those. I got mine from Z-Pack's while I was ordering the rest of the clips and line, but I do believe Dutchware Gear, I think it's Dutchware Gear, also sells the lineloc 3s. And then I got the vestibule door hooks from Z-Pack's as well. And all of this modification probably cost me a grand total of $28. As far as the added weight that you get from doing this modification, it is in the grams. And not only does it not add a whole lot of weight, I removed the original guy lines, which took some of the weight off. Plus, I removed the extra guy out lines, which had tensioners on them, funny enough, that are on the Rainfly, because with this tensioner setup, it actually pulls the Rainfly out very nicely in the places that those extra guy lines were designed to pull out. So I just didn't need them. I actually think I took more weight off of the fly than I added to it. I don't know that for sure, but I am almost positive I did. So the weight is definitely not an added issue for sure. All in all, I think these very simple modifications are going to make all the world of difference in the various places that I plan on using this tent. I am headed back to the PCT to do another 134-mile section from Kennedy Meadows to Tehachapi. I'm going to go southbound this time. Hope to run into a couple buddies that I had met on the trail before, and maybe some people that I haven't met and wanted to meet. So that's going to be pretty cool. So there's going to be that. This tent is also going to make its way to the Collegiate Loop Trail in Colorado in June. So it's going to get to see that different terrain. It's going to be at high elevation, lower elevation. I may end up hitting part of the AT later this year. So this thing is going to see all different kinds of terrain, and I really think it's going to be nice to be able to have all these adjustment points to be able to really tailor fit this tent to whatever ground I decide to set it on. So I hope that these modifications were enjoyable for you, or maybe even informative, and maybe you yourself have this tent or a similar tent with pre-cut guy lines that you were like, man, I really wish that I could have some solid tension adjustments on my Rainfly or even tent body. Maybe this video helps you guys out, and I really hope that it did. So if this is your first video of mine that you're seeing, or this is your first time to my channel, and you're interested in the things that I'm doing here on the channel with my gear reviews, gear modifications, and trail vlogging, feel free to hit the subscribe button and follow along. And as always, thanks for watching. Until next time.